Hello, everyone, and welcome to Curated Classical. Today, I'm going to be talking about a book that I've been reading. It's called The Fifth Season, and it is part of a series called the Broken Earth Trilogy. Now, I know that this channel is advertised as a music channel, but I'm going to be talking about books too, because I'm into books right now as well. So it's my freaking channel. Sorry, that was too aggressive. Maybe I'll change the name of the channel for marketing purposes. But for right now, you're just going to have to deal with the fact that I'm talking about a book instead of music. So if you have read this book, please stick around, because I have lots of thoughts so far. I'm a little over halfway through, as you can see by my bookmarks. I think if you've read this book series and enjoyed it, you're going to want to see me read it and enjoy it, because that's always fun, is seeing someone fall in love with something that you're in love with. But first, let me try and summarize this story for people who might be interested in reading it but have not read it yet. I'll do my best to summarize the premise of the story. There's a lot to it. And then I will go on to a spoiler section. And I'll make sure to let everyone know that the spoiler section is coming, so you don't get spoiled if you don't want to be spoiled. And I've said the word spoiled too much now, so let's get into the summary. Okay, so this book series is set in a world called the Stillness. The Stillness is one huge supercontinent. There's nothing else as far as we know. Maybe there is, I don't know. But as far as I know so far, there's nothing else except this one supercontinent called the Stillness. And there are all sorts of little communities and villages all around the Stillness that make up the community of this huge supercontinent. But the entire continent is overseen by the Imperial Sanzei, I think is what they call them. The big, huge central city of this supercontinent is called Jemisin. So we have a supercontinent, lots of different villages, but a central government type thing located in a big central city called Jemisin. And the normal population of people are called stills. This is like the fantasy stand-in for regular humans in this world. But there are also other types of people living in this world. There are things called stone eaters, which I don't know much about yet, but they have something to do with the earth. Somehow. I don't know. But there are also a group of people called the Origines. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Origines. And Origines can harness the power of earth and use it to their benefit somehow. It's kind of vague, but somehow they use the power of the earth to harness it and do things. I don't know much about it yet. Maybe they'll explain it more in the book. But this is just a summary, so even if I did know a lot about it, I wouldn't be telling you. Okay, all you need to know is that there are Origines who can use the power of the earth to control things, and Stone Eaters, which are mysterious, like stone creatures or something, and Stills, which are just like normal people. Okay, so as you can imagine, Origines are feared because they have the power of earth. So no one likes Origines. Everyone hates them. They're persecuted. But there's also a organization in Jemisin called the Fulcrum. And the Fulcrum recruits Origines so that they can use their power for the benefit of whatever the central government or, whatever they want, essentially. So you can join the Fulcrum and be trained to use your powers for the benefit of the government. And you can reach a like certain level of respect within that context, but you're still an origin. You're always going to be feared in some respects. So it's one of those things where it's like you either join the fulcrum to at least enjoy some level of privilege, or you stay as like a rogue origin and be persecuted. Those are your two options as an origin. So that's the main premise of like the people dynamics going on. The fifth season, the term fifth season, refers to an like a apocalyptic event that changes the land as we know it. In the stills, there have been multiple fifth seasons that have like destroyed the status quo, and humanity, the stills, the origins, all the people living on the supercontinent during the fifth season, they're forced to either adapt or die, adapt to the new climate or die. Fifth season, it's like an ice age, or like the ice age ending, like eras, or like eras of the earth. It's like the transitional period between eras of the earth. Those are like the main like fundamentals of the story. So the story itself, it follows three different origins, three separate stories. One of them is named Isun. She is currently experiencing a fifth season. So we're following her try and survive this apocalyptic event that's happening around her, trying to survive this transition period between different eras. Another story is following a girl named Demaya, and she is joining the fulcrum for the first time. She just got recruited to the fulcrum, and we're seeing her begin the program as a newbie. The third story follows a girl named Cyanite. She is an experienced origin in the fulcrum, and so we see her get recruited to go on missions and whatnot. So those are the three stories we're following, and it sort of represents the three positions an origin can hold in society. There's the wild origin, or the sort of rogue origin in Isun's story, the origin that's just joining the fulcrum in Demaya's story, and there's the origin that is an actual advanced member of the fulcrum in Cyanite. So it's like three different perspectives of the different positions that this group of people can hold in society. So that's been really interesting. I don't think I can say too much more about the book without spoiling a lot. So I'm going to go to my notes and talk about what I've read so far. So I'm transitioning to the spoiler section. If anyone wants to read the book and doesn't want to be spoiled yet, turn off the video in 1, 2, 3. Okay, spoilers. Everyone gone that doesn't want spoilers? Okay, so the dedication of this book is written for all those who have to fight for the respect that everyone else is given without question. This is actually something that I have some personal experience with, not for myself, but I've definitely known people that work just as hard or just as skilled as anybody else, but they're not taken seriously because of who they are. It could be because they're a woman, or because they're from a different country. But that definitely still happens, and I have experience with that. So I thought that dedication was really cool and really interesting. And it definitely sets the theme, or it sets some of the themes for this book, especially surrounding the origins, because the origins, the way the social dynamics surrounding origins works in this book is really similar to how majority-minority population dynamics works in the real world. Hello everyone, this is Future Rory, interrupting the video you're watching for just a second. So this book deals with a lot of issues of class and race and majority-minority politics. And in this section of the video, I initially talked about some of those, but when I went to edit it, I realized I was unhappy with this section. And I realized the reason I was unhappy was that when it comes to such sensitive and serious topics, I don't just want to just throw out the first thoughts I have in my head. I think topics like these deserve a little better than that. For now, I'll just say that this book does have themes surrounding racial identity, class identity, things like that. And it's very interesting and it's very relevant to the real world. And it's very serious, which is why I think in order to give this topic the nuance and respect that it deserves, I would need to make an entirely separate video just discussing that. So the topic has room to breathe and get into the nitty-gritty of things. Anyway, so that's that for now. I'm just going to edit out all the parts where I talk about that, and maybe later on I'll make a separate video and analyzing those topics in this book more in depth. Okay, back to the video proper. I noticed this really interesting theme in the book of smiles. Whenever they talk about someone smiling in this book, they're never smiling because they're happy. It's always a smile that is expressive of a negative emotion. So that seems to be like a consistent theme in the book, I notice, is that smiles are never positive. So that's interesting. And I wonder if that's going to play into the narrative and the overall theme of the book, or if it's just sort of a like running theme that'll just sort of stay in the background. Will it stay in the background, or will it be incorporated into the wider theme of the book? I don't know yet, but I found it interesting. Now, when I first started the book, there's 3 separate storylines, like I mentioned in the summary section of the video. There's Isun's storyline, there's Demaya's storyline, and there's Seonite's storyline. And when I first started reading, I assumed that the storylines were taking place at the same time. But as I continued reading, I noticed that maybe they're not taking place at the same time. I think I got confirmation of this because I noticed that Seonite mentioned that there was not a 5th season going on at the moment. In other words, we're not in one of these apocalyptic events that shifts the earth. And Isun's story obviously takes place during one of these apocalyptic events. So they're not happening at the same time, right? But then I noticed something else. I just finished the chapter called Sien in the Hidden Land, okay? And she mentioned something in there that I noticed. They're talking about guardians. She's talking with her Alabaster about guardians. And when he talks about guardians, she thinks in her head, she remembers the sound of broken tendons, and her hand starts hurting. And this is when I realized, wait a minute. Demaya had her hand broken by a guardian. So are Demaya and Seonite the same person? I think they are. I think it's possible that Isun, Seonite, and Demaya are all the same person. We're reading a story of one person in different times of their lives, out of chronological order. And that would be really interesting. And we could see the whole story of this one person's life come together. I think that's what the book is doing. Either that or Isun is a separate person, because Isun is the only person that the book refers to as you. The narrator refers to Isun in the book as you, but the narrator refers to Seonite and Demaya in the third person. So Isun might be a separate person, but Seonite and Demaya are definitely, I think, the same person, just at different times in her life with a different name for some reason. It's either that or all 3 of them are the same person. I'm pretty sure. Okay, that's my big revelation from reading this. So one thing that's interesting about this book narratively is that I'm over halfway through the first book in this trilogy, And I still don't really know what the overall goal of the story is. There are clearly like lots of different factions at play in whatever's going on in this story. There's like Stone Eaters and Guardians and Origins and the Fulcrum and the central government, and there's all sorts of different groups and different organizations and different splinters of these groups and organizations, and they all have a different goal. But we don't have any idea yet what anyone's motivation is or what anyone's even trying to accomplish. We're just kind of following three people, or maybe the same person, from a very limited perspective. So it's interesting to me because, like, if I compare it to another book, maybe like I recently read the Mistborn trilogy, the first one. By halfway through the first book, I sort of had an idea of where the story was going, what the goals of the characters were, and all that stuff. But with this, I have no idea. but I like it. That's what makes it interesting, because it makes me more interested to read, because like everyone's motivation and everything that's going on in the background is such a mystery still, and that I don't get frustrated with that sort of thing. I'm very compelled. For example, Hoa. What is Hoa? He turned a wolf creature into stone. He's this weird little kid following Isun around. And he has diamond teeth? Is he a stone eater? What is he? So interesting. And we don't even really know what stone eaters are. We've seen like a few of them. But like, what are they? What do they do? What's their connection to the world? And the obelisks, like, what are they? What do they do? The obelisks seem to have some sort of connection with stone eaters. But like, what the heck are they? The next book is called Obelisk Gate, so I'm sure we'll find out more in the next book, if not in this one. But it's so interesting. It seems like the Guardians and the Stone, they all have like different goals and stuff, but we just have, we have no idea. Tonki's pretty cool. She seems to be someone who is sort of a representation of trans people in this world, and that's cool to see. I noticed the section of the book where she takes this potion or something. The book mentions that she's getting frustrated because her lack of this serum or whatever is making it so that her beard is growing back. So I assume it's like some sort of this world's equivalent to like HRT or something. I am hoping that the Origins power gets fleshed out a little bit more, because at this point it's very vague exactly how it works. You've only seen it a few different times, and it's always described a little bit differently, I think, from what I remember. I'm definitely interested in discovering more about how their power actually works. Or it could remain just kind of vague throughout the whole story. I can see it remaining vague through the whole story. The story would still work, but I would like to have a little more explanation as to how their power works. Yeah, I think that's all the notes I have on this so far. It's a lot of speculation because there's still so much I don't know about this world and the people of this world. But that's what makes it so interesting. And I'm so excited to continue my journey with this book. And if you love this series, the Broken Earth Trilogy, then I recommend you subscribe, because I'm going to be continuing it and you're going to like my thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, hit the like button if you haven't already, and join the community. I'd love to see you here. All right. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, hello everyone. I know it seemed like the video was about to end, but it's the next day, and I just read 2 more chapters of this book from the time that I made the rest of the video. I read um, uh, uh, Demaya in finality, and you discover the wonders down below, or something like that. Okay, and I had to make this update because in Demaya in finality, it is confirmed that Demaya is Seonite. Yes! I got that right! I'm so happy. But also, in the next chapter after that, you discover the wonders down below. That's the chapter name. Isun tells Ika that she is fulcrum trained, and she also implies within her inner thoughts that Isun is the name she gave to the people of Tiramo where she was living. So it's not her real name. She is definitely Demaya and Seonite. They're all the same person, just at different stages of their life. Oh, I swear to you guys, I have not read this book before. This is a live reaction, and I'm so glad I sorry. I'm so glad I caught the clues leading up to this reveal, and I guessed it before the reveal, and now I feel like a big smart boy. I need some like fake glasses or something. Yes, I'm not just a reader. I am an intelligent consumer of fictional narrative. So anyway, guys, I just had to make this update. Really, I'm really proud of myself. I'm really feeling myself for guessing that. Actually, I'm gonna make one more guess because I'm on a roll with these predictions. This one might not be true, but I feel like it might be. I think Tonki might be Binoff, because after Demaya and Binoff's confrontation or meeting with the Guardians take Binoff away, and Demaya, it seems like Demaya doesn't hear from her again. Okay, and then when Isun, who is Demaya, meets Tonki is homeless, but she notices that she has good enough teeth that she has not been homeless her whole life. She comes from a rich background, and Binoff was from a rich background. And Tonki studied geometry or geometry or whatever they call it in this book. She studied at a fairly prestigious university. And so she comes from a rich background, and Binoff comes from a rich background. What I think happened is that the Guardians took Binoff away, and as punishment, they let her stay in her privileged position, but they stripped her of her leadership role. And so instead of being a leader, she studied geometry, I think that's what the book calls it, at this prestigious university. But her studies, because that moment where she found the thing in the Hexagon main building, because that moment was so impactful to her, she couldn't let go. So in her studies of geometry, she kept looking for the answers to what that was. And that led her deeper into trouble. And as she got closer to the truth, I think they said, okay, we gave you a chance already. You're still digging for answers. We have to cut you off from society. And now she's homeless. I think that's what happened. I think Binoff is Tonki. And I think Tonki is her new name because they stripped her position from society and outcast. It's like her outcasted name. That's my guess. It might not be true, but I feel like that's what happened. Anyway, okay. I know this video was going to end sooner. Sorry, but I just had to make this update. So if you still like the video, make sure you subscribe and like and all that other stuff. All right. Please join me on my journey through this book because my predictions are good and I'm a smart reader guy. All right. See you later.